Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a two-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.
Hey, everybody, thank you for joining us this morning. We're off on a grand adventure this morning to Nebraska. Mr. Southworth, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
God bless. Thank you so very much for taking time from your Sunday to do this.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
This was a real honor. When I got so excited when you agreed to do this because I have some great childhood memories of the Pioneer Village in Minden, Nebraska. I've made several trips since then, and this is one of my favorite places. This is a place that is. I'm surprised how overlooked it is, to be honest.
Right. Yes. I think it had its heyday, I think back in the 70s, where everybody kind of knew about it because they had signs from here to Florida is what I've been told. But yeah, we're definitely trying to bring that back, I think.
Wow, you're doing a good job. And another thing I was so excited about, I was there just before the apocalypse 2020. And your famous steam-powered carousel was in pretty bad repair at the time. And I was very saddened by that. And I'm so glad to see that is making a return.
Absolutely. It's been a crowd favorite since we reopened it in September. It had apparently sat for 20 years, just like you say, in a state of neglect and just not able to be used and showcased. But yeah, it's beautiful now. They've done a great job of restoration.
Yeah, now you're still working on the steam powered mechanism, correct?
Yeah, we need to find somebody that can redo the boiler. That's again, since it sat for 20 years, we need to redo that, fix that. It probably what we've kind of decided is it'll never run the carousel again. Just liability and all that stuff. We have some safety mechanisms built in now, but of course we do want to get that so we can showcase how it ran and that kind of thing. And then we just restored a calliope, or well, we're still kind of in the process of that. So we've got a calliope, and hopefully at some point we can hook the calliope up to the steam engine.
Oh, that would be great. Your carousel, Harold Warp picked that up in Pontiac, Illinois, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Do you know any of the history why it was in Pontiac or how that got there?
Yeah, I don't know specifically how it got to that specific place, but I know, I mean, the carousel itself was built to be a traveling carousel. So it would go on the fairs and the circuses. So I'm sure it just traveled around. It was originally built in New York. I mean, that's where the Armitage Herschel factory was. And but yeah, like I said, it was specifically built to be taken apart, moved, and reassembled. It's funny that half of its life it's been at Pioneer Village, but it was made to be a traveling one.
The reason I asked Pontiac, I work a lot with the folks in Pontiac, Illinois, and
Sure.
that's an amazing community that has been revitalized. Those folks are selling everything on the hog, including the squeal, and they're just going gangbusters. But I digress. Pioneer Village there, you're on US 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Denny Gibson and some of the others that are with us this morning know that I'm obsessed with US 6. It's the forgotten cousin of Route 66. But attractions like Pioneer Village are examples of why that is one of the ultimate road trips.
Absolutely. I think, of course, the interstate's great if you need to get somewhere fast, but if
Yes.
you can take your time and see these small towns of America, like those side highways are amazing to travel down. I still want to at some point do the Route 66, but like you say, it'd be nice to go down 30 for the Lincoln Highway and 6 for just getting across America and seeing these amazing things. Or, I mean, get off the interstate sometimes.
I think Charles Corral, to paraphrase something he said about the interstate highway system, now it's possible to go to coast and see absolutely nothing.
That is absolutely true. Yes.
And next year would be a good year for you on Route 66. It's the centennial, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot of celebrations.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Pioneer Village. You know, another thing I'm excited about, of course, next year is the 250th anniversary of the United States.
Right.
And what a better place. I find it hard to think of a better place to discover the American story in one location than at Pioneer Village.
Right. Part of my spiel when people come in is just there's a little bit of everything, and it's going to take you a while to see it. That's, I mean, the beauty of Pioneer Village, like you say, it covers everyday life. It covers the major transportation booms. I mean, it really does cover everything.
Yeah, we have some great museums in this country, like Colonial Williamsburg. Greenfield Village does a great job of time capsule life. A description I once heard of Pioneer Village was an organized hoarder's paradise.
Yeah, yeah. I've said, especially right before I started, I said, the only difference between a hoarder and a collector is how much money they had.
Yeah, I like that. I guess I like that a lot. The collections, when Mr. Warp started collecting all this in the 40s and 50s, it was kind of like collecting stuff grandmother threw away. But you could never replicate the collection you have there. I don't think it'd
Right.
be possible.
No, you really couldn't. I mean, just the fact that he traveled, like he actually went to all across America, went to auctions, saw something on the side of the road, he'd stop at a farm and be like, "Hey, I'll give you $20 for that thing," and he would ship it back to here in Minden, Nebraska. It was amazing that he had the foresight to just and the connections that he had, because we do have we just had somebody that was telling us about this foghorn display that we have, and it was part of the traveling exhibition for the world's fairs. So there are pictures of our foghorn at 4 or 5 of the world's fairs from like 1900 to the 1930s, like things like that. The connection that he had just to even find that thing and be able to add it to his collection was amazing, and the things that he brought together.
Just the sheer diversity from spark plugs to kitchens, automobiles, airplanes, outboard motors, a sod house, Pony Express station, tractors. Uh, just overwhelming.
Yeah. I think that's the number one word I hear when people come out of. I always like to ask people when they leave, like, "What'd you think? What was a highlight?" And one of the number one words I hear is overwhelming, because there's just so much stuff to see. Then the nice thing is, I mean, we get a lot of couples that'll come in and they'll get 2 maps because they're like, we may not see each other the rest of the day. We'll split up and find the things that we like to see, and they'll go do their own thing. So I think that's kind of cool too.
Well, it is, and you've got literally something for everyone. And I sure wished especially where I'm at now in life, I wished I could have sat down and talked to Mr. Warp. Uh,
Mhm.
the mindset to not only preserve kitchens, the evolution of kitchens, but to do it in its entirety, to create
Right.
a time capsule from these different eras. the thought process behind that is just fascinating.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. How would you even think about that? I mean, I do think it's interesting that I would. So you're talking about kitchens. We have these period rooms in one of our buildings that have kitchens, living rooms, and bedrooms. And it's funny because the 1980s one, apparently, they literally just took out of his house and put it in the museum.
I've always been and it does stem. I could blame Pioneer Village for this, I suppose, but because, like I say, some of my early childhood memories, the first time we stopped there was probably sometime around 64 or 65.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been obsessed with these kind of quirky, odd places, like the Vacuum Cleaner Museum down in St. James, Missouri.
Right.
Uh, so I'm amazed. And it's not just industrial. You've got quite a display of artwork as well.
We do. Yeah. I was just doing some research on the. We had these paintings that, I mean, we've got probably 200 of them, and we didn't, surprisingly, they were very good about uh, doing write-ups on all of this stuff, except for this one collection of artwork that we just didn't have any write-up on. There was one painting that had a picture of the artist and had his name, and that's all we had. And so I started doing research on it, and it turns out he was a very famous painter and did this whole series of the American West, and that's why we have those paintings. But yeah, we've got this whole section that's paintings, and like I say, describes a lot of early American life, Native Americans. I mean, just a little bit of everything, and we're trying to rethink about how we display it and display it better. So we are always trying to refresh and renew and show things in a different light and give a different context to some of the stuff that we do have. So it is nice to be able to look at this artwork that we have and that we've had for a long time, and then we can redisplay it in a new way.
Now, if I recall correctly, you had some work there by, was it Russell or Remington? Charles Russell?
Uh, yeah, yes.
His artwork was extraordinary.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
uh, your automobile collection is quite unusual too, because most of the cars are kind of an unrestored. They were just basically used cars when they were acquired, which
yeah,
makes it very unique.
yeah. I've heard stories that people would, just when they were visiting the museum, he would offer to buy their car. So it'd be ones that they drove on their vacation, and he's like, "Hey, I'll give you $20 for your car or whatever it is," and then they would add it to the display, or he would go to the dealer and pull it right off the lot. Like, it was just, he literally just wanted to preserve it as it was. He didn't want it shiny and restored. He wanted it to show how it was used, how it was used in that everyday life.
You've got some extreme rare early automobiles. I understand one of
Mhm.
your Buicks is one of the oldest in existence.
Yeah, it's the oldest Buick that, yes, like you say, that we know of that exists. We know there were some older ones that are like the original ones from 1904, but the 1905 that we have is the only one that's still in existence, because a lot of them got parted out or just probably sat out and rusted away. But yeah, it's very cool to see some of these things. And like, we got one of the early 1906 Fords, the Model N, which is kind of an interesting one. But yeah, we've got all these amazing cars that are like one-offs or uniques. Or, I mean, we just added a couple years ago a 1953 Corvette. So it's probably one of the last of the run, but it was in that first Corvette year.
Very interesting. Yeah, I'm overdue for a return visit. But gosh, yeah, the displays are just, it's just hard to fathom. I was amazed by, like, you had a display of spark plugs. Uh,
Right.
and, you know, people think, well, yeah, but even though I'm an automotive writer, I was really surprised by the diversity of early spark plugs.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, and it's nice to see some of those things. We've got a lot of those working models and stuff that have cutaways, and he, like you say, just wanted to showcase how things worked, or how, like you say, how many inventors there were of different things. I mean, I worked at the barbed wire mansion in DeKalb, Illinois. So Isaac Elwood manufactured barbed wire for Joseph Glidden, and I learned a lot about barbed wire while I was working there, and the history of it, and then I found that we have 2 different displays of barbed wire, so we've probably got 300 different types of barbed wire that were invented, but one style won out over all of those just because of how they worked and the popularity of it. It's interesting to see those things where you see, like you say, it starts out with 100 different types and then kind of whittles down to the best of the best.
You sound like a man of my own heart, where the eccentricities of things, inventions. Here's another incentive for you on your barbed wire, on your Route 66 road trip. In a little town of McLean, Texas, which is flirting with becoming a ghost town, they have a barbed wire museum with a connection to the Titanic sinking. And to make it even more quirky and strange, it's in an old brassiere factory that gave McLean, Texas, the title of the uplift capital of America. You got to have fun with this stuff.
Absolutely.
Are you finding young people, younger generations, interested in this?
We're trying to. We get a lot of the grandparents that'll bring their kids and say, like, I was here when I was a little kid. That's especially happening with the carousel, like you mentioned earlier. Where they're like, I rode this when I was a little kid and it was so fun, and now I'm bringing the next generation. So we are seeing a lot of that. But then we're also trying to, one thing, especially this year, I want to try to do is get some more interactive exhibits and get like videos and things like that show how things work. So we do get those younger generations and catch their attention with all of these things that we have.
You know, when we talk about the younger generation, it's hard for me to think of 50 and younger. But the younger people under 50, they grew up with video games and all this other things. And the interactive exhibits, I think, are key to ensuring museum survival in the future.
Absolutely. I've seen some very cool things that have been coming out. I was just watching this thing about the Naperville settlement. They have this interactive display where it, like, projectors shine on a threshing machine and shows how it worked, and then there's videos that go along with it. It's like, that would be very cool, because I mean, there's plenty of things that we could do that with, and just having videos. I made a video, one of the objects in our collection that I grew up in the area, so we've been coming to this museum for my whole life. One of the objects that always catches my attention, and I remember it from when I was a little kid, is we have this amphicar, and it's so cool to see this thing. But I found some videos of how it driving through the water and all this stuff, and there's one video of it pulling a houseboat. And so I put this video together to kind of show it and add that information that we already have on the car, but just make it a little more interactive, that people are actually seeing the thing move and work. And I just love that. And I'm trying to do more of that stuff, where we're getting things that catch people's attention and show these objects that in their state. Like I said, we wanted to preserve how they looked when they were dropped off, but I want to show how were they actually used when people were using them.
Yeah, this is good. There's been I covered the opening of a museum several years ago when I was working for Cars and Parts magazine. the Automobile Driving Museum out in El Segundo, California. The short version is they were trying to address why young people had very little interest in pre 1960, especially pre World War II cars. So they started the Automobile Driving Museum, and on weekends they literally take you for a drive. You
Oh
might
yeah.
go for a ride in a DeLorean, a Pacer, or a
Right.
1905 Cadillac.
Yeah.
And since then, I have seen museums like the Gilmore in outside of Kalamazoo, Michigan, that offers a Model T driving school that
Okay.
has proven surprisingly popular with teenagers.
Sure. Yeah, I when I was out in Illinois, I went to the Illinois Railway Museum on one of their days, and they had all the trains out and had two of them that you could take up and down the line, and they had the buses and stuff going like that. It is a memorable thing when you actually get to use these things and get to see them drive. I mean, again, that's like getting those interactive things creates those core bond memories that kids will grow up with and then remember and come back to, and then the older people will just be like, that was so cool, I got to ride that or try that or whatever it is. Like I definitely think, like I say, getting people back into museums and getting these experiences, I think that's the key word that we need to think about going into the future, is building an experience, not just come look at our stuff.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if you could partner. It's kind of in your neighborhood, McPherson College, just
Mhm.
south of you down in Kansas. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with McPherson College?
Not specifically the college, but I know McPherson, and then we do have so in Hastings we also have a community college that has a vehicle program,
Ah,
but yeah, but thinking of that one too.
yeah, that would be great if you could. I don't know how you would do that, but if you could partner with that to get hands on working on
Right.
cars and
Uh-huh.
yeah, generate interest that way. I know you have a full plate. You're trying to bring the museum back to life, give it a renaissance, if you will. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that in Kansas City, the Arabia Museum is closing. Are you
Oh yeah,
familiar?
yes, I did just see that. Yeah. It seems like they might have an idea of a place to move, but it is still unfortunate that they're having to move and move
I,
that collection.
I know of this great place in Minden, Nebraska, where that collection could go.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I had to throw that out there.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Uh, Denny Gibson, he's a writer and pretty much travels everywhere. He says he's overdue for a visit. His last visit was 2014. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely, I mean, like we've been talking, we've definitely been doing a lot of restoration and bringing it back to life. And definitely since 2014, you'll see a lot of changes. We've moved a lot of things. One of the, it's always interesting, small towns, anything that changes, everybody has to go see it, has to do the drive by of the small town drive by. And we last year they moved, we have this large collection of statues, and they've probably, I mean, I know they've sat there for 70 years, and we just finally decided to move those and move some cars up front just to show off, or vehicles I should say, not just cars. We'd have cars and a snowmobile and a bike to kind of showcase the varied collection that we have, like you said. But that is getting new interest and getting people to see, like, oh yeah, I haven't been there in a while, I should go back and see, and seeing new things in a new light. We're trying to give people new perspectives on the things that we have had there for a long time, so they can kind of come back. And then we're trying to mix up some things that we have, but then also bringing in new rotating exhibitions. We're trying to just like make it fresh, make it fresh for everybody's eyes.
Yeah, it kind of need breathe new life. Because I know when I was there, like say, I think it was 2019, just before the apocalypse, that was I was really surprised that so much of it was exactly as it was when I was a kid. But I've been to Pioneer Village, I guess, 4 times now since the 1960s, and
Okay.
it's always one of my favorites. It just
Sure.
and Minden is such a supportive community.
They really have been. We just got done with the Give Big Minden, which is all the nonprofits get together and raise money on a specific day, kind of like a Giving Tuesday or a Big Give or what have you. All of these are kind of the same, but we just got done with that and raised quite a bit of money on that. And specifically for some of our restoration projects, specifically our sod house. That's our next big project inside the museum that we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you've also got a collection, a pretty fascinating collection with detailed exhibits of historic buildings.
We do.
It's not going to be replicated.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting how that started because it was just, it started with the schoolhouse that Harold Warp went to when he was a kid, and it was up for auction, and they were basically going to just tear it down. And he said, no, I want to preserve that. And that's really how the collection started in general, like that, how the museum itself started was with his schoolhouse. And then he's started finding more buildings and then just started adding to the collection. But yeah, we've got this amazing, the Village Green is what we call it, and have these amazing buildings that show that era, that pioneer life and early America and how that grew. And it's just cool to see all these different things. You can actually go in a lot of them. There's just a couple, the diners, really the only one that you can't really explore inside of, but sometimes we have food that we serve out of there. So you get that experience.
Is that a Valentine diner by chance?
Yes, it is.
Ah, boy, I tell you, there has been a resurgent interest in those. A real resurgent interest in the old Valentine diners.
Yeah. Well, and then, like I said, we try to get, especially for our special events, and hopefully next year we're going to have a semi-permanent food vendor out of it. But where we do like to offer, again, that experience. Just, hey, I got to sit down and eat food out of the diner is just a cool thing to just add to people's experience throughout the museum.
One of the advantages and disadvantages that you have is that you're not on the interstate highway. That's an advantage because it makes it even more of an attraction, especially if you tie it in with a trip on US 6. But I imagine it's a little bit harder to get traffic that way.
It is. We try to. I mean, we've got a couple big signs on the interstate that say, "Hey, we're just 10 miles down the road." And we do get a lot of campers and people that do come out. But yeah, we've had discussions about, like, do we have a mini museum right on the interstate, and then say, well, just 10 miles down the road, there's a couple hundred acres that you can go check out, and all these buildings where you see more stuff. We've discussed that, and to drive traffic, we've tried thinking about a lot of different ways that we can get people off the interstate. I want to do some radio advertising and some, like, streaming advertising in the future, just to reach new audiences, and, like you say, get them off the interstate. And like I said, people that want to slow down and have time to travel, we do get a lot of those, and it really helps that we have a campground, and then and we're expanding our campground, so we're really excited about that. Next year we'll be opening up, and then hopefully, I mean, this is going to be a long-term project, but hopefully we can get our hotel open again. That's what we would really love to do, because that would draw people in. We get people probably every week that are asking, do we have a hotel, or is it open, that kind of thing. And so we would really love to get that back and get back going.
It seems like, if there was a truck stop out on the highway near an exit close by that maybe you could partner with to have a small rotating exhibit.
Yeah.
Might work.
Right. Yeah. We'd, that's been a part of the conversation as well. Like if there was land kind of right up north that a truck stop would come in, we would work with them and stuff. And I'm sure there's some over in Kearney that we could work with and get people to drawn down here.
Right. Right. Yeah, this is such a incredible place, and we've got to do everything we can to make sure that you guys not only survive but thrive. Because this is not something that can ever be replicated. If we were to lose Pioneer Village, we would really lose a national treasure. So to be blunt.
Yeah. It's amazing how many people come and tell me like the breadth of our collection. Like I had a guy come and tell me like I was at the Ford Museum and their collection isn't even as strong as this one. Like their timeline and that stuff. Like you say, it's just the idea that he came up with to collect all these things and put it in a timeline and put it together is just amazing. And like you say, you can't find it anywhere else. You can't see any collection like this. It's just such a one-off thing. And like I say, if it did go away, all of this stuff would be distributed across a million different places, and you wouldn't get the same story.
No,
you wouldn't see that same story.
Well, Henry Ford Museum, Greenfield Village. That is an amazing complex, but it's an apples and oranges kind of thing. It's not
right.
It's just not the same. What you have is unique in so many ways because it's not just a collection of chronicling the American industrial evolution. The fact that the museum was set up, it's a 1950s time capsule as well as a time capsule that chronicles our industrial evolution.
Right. Yeah, it very much is. I mean, we've definitely talked about how to update from that, but yes, we do get a lot of that. It is always funny that everybody, when they see the main building, they assume it was like a car dealer or something like that. It was actually built for the museum, but just in that style. So, like I say, kind of preserves the idea of the 50s somewhat, and then how some of the buildings were put together and the displays. I mean, we want to preserve how they displayed some of the information, and I would like to add on to that, like bring some of those displays forward, but still preserve the way they looked and how they're set up. I just think we can modernize, but still, like you say, preserve how it looked back then.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned bringing some of the stuff to the forefront, like snowmobiles. I got to tell you, even though I lived in the North Country and I paid my dues in those nasty M places like Minnesota and Michigan, snowmobiles, I never even really gave it a thought until I went to Pioneer Village and saw some of the early snowmobile stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Like the conversion kits for Model A's and Model T Fords for snowmobiles.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing how many different conversions you can do on a model. Could have done on a Model T. I mean, we've got a farm equipment one and all these different variations of what that looks like.
Yeah, the Model T, it's astounding what they gosh darn it, what people did with those cars. Just absolutely astounding. The other thing that another exhibit for people that would surprise them that you don't pay attention to outboard motors.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, you don't think about it until you see a display of them and look at how they worked and the variety. I mean, I think that's the best part of a lot of our exhibits is just like you go to one place and you see this is how many of these things were invented or were tried and then came together to kind of come up with the most efficient version. But this is what we started out with.
Well, you mentioned things in a timeline situation. It's interesting to be able to, there again, the outboard motors, to see the evolution of things that we just take for granted.
Yeah. Like you say, the engines and all these things that we had, the individual parts, but like I like our tractor display because it showed, and there's a lot of like they built like 5 of these tractors because some guy in his garage wanted to, like, he needed a more efficient tractor for what he was doing, and so he made these things and sold them off and tried to start a company out of it. But then it kind of, you see how it evolves and how it changes and how it kind of, the design kind of narrows down into like they all kind of look similar. You get the little differences between the brands, but then they all kind of have a similar flow. But you see all these like variations of all these things that they tried. Like it was really like, hey, let's try this, or let's do this, or let's put this together, paint it this color, or whatever it is, and then they kind of narrow it down over time, and you see that like that progress.
Do you have any cars, trucks, or tractors that were manufactured in Nebraska in the exhibit? Kind
Can't
of.
think of them off the top of my head. I'm sure we do. I'm sure we have a tractor that I'm just blanking on it right now.
I've been trying to track down. I know they still exist somewhere, but I've been trying to track down Patriot trucks that were manufactured in Lincoln, Nebraska, for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. We are working on updating our list of vehicles because we have paperwork, but it's all mixed together and all a lot of it's handwritten and stuff. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to condense that and update, create a database of these things. Because I mean, we do have we did start an adoptive vehicle program. So currently it's go find it in the building and tell us where it is, and then put your name on it. But I would love to have a digital version where people could go and look at pictures of all of our vehicles and then say, I want to adopt that one. So it'll be online. But we're definitely trying to digitize our collection, make it more accessible for people to, I mean, who aren't here, but they can go online and we'll be able to see some of that stuff as we build that up, and then say, oh, I see this thing that makes me want to visit now that I know you have that thing. I'm going to come and see that.
Little teaser videos, short 1 minute, 2 minute videos of cars that people can adopt. Things of that nature. Yeah, it'd be interesting. My reason for looking for a Patriot truck, and people who I've followers and subscribers to the Jim Hinckley's American Network know that I obsess over this, but Patriot trucks that were built in Lincoln, Nebraska, 1918, 1919 models had Hinckley engines that were manufactured. Were manufactured in Ecorse, Michigan, and that was my grandfather's enterprise. Was building Hinckley engines. I've yet to see one, so I'm still. Sure. I've only been looking for 60 years, but
yeah. I feel like that does make like that one resonates with me. I'm pretty sure I've heard us talking about Hinckley engines. Some other people were asking about it too.
Now I've done another rabbit hole.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But you mentioned exhibits that appeal to almost all demographics. It's not just artwork, which you have a stunning display of artwork there, but in the cars, the aircraft engines, the outboard motors, cameras, kitchens. China. I was also surprised by the diverse display of China tea sets.
Yeah,
it's like it's a hoarder's paradise. I just love it.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. I always had this story stuck in my head. There's one piece of china that we have that, and it's an onyx kind of vase looking thing, and I always had it in my head that it was the very first thing that Harold Warp ever purchased for himself and started a collection. But it was Tom Jensen, his Clara's husband. Clara Jensen is Harold Warp's sister, and she's the one that actually did a lot of the building the displays and writing the copy and all that stuff. She was the one that was running the museum. Harold Warp would be traveling around buying the stuff, but then he would freight it back on a train to Minden, and then Clara and her husband would bring it over and set it up in the museum. And then there's a book of Sister Clara's letters. So they would write letters back and forth almost every day saying, like, Harold would say, "This is how much I spent on such and such item," and then she would say, "Well, this is where we put it." But it's interesting, and so the onyx china piece was Jensen's first thing that he bought for his mother, and that kind of started his idea of collecting. And then he became an auctioneer, and through his auctioneering, also kind of came up with some of the items that we have on display now. But like I say, it's amazing the breadth that we have, and the stories behind a lot of this stuff is very cool too. I always love to find those, like, there's a lot of finds. Like, if you just read some of the things, it's like, oh, that's how that came to be, or that's how this person found it, or whatever it is. It's always interesting to go through and find new things, because I mean, I'm fairly new to the museum. I started a few months ago. This is my 4th month now, almost 5th month. But like I said, I've been coming all my life. But there were buildings when I started that I hadn't even stepped foot in, just because of how much stuff we have. And so I've been trying to slowly, like, oh, I have to go shut off lights. I'm going to go spend 5 minutes in this building and look at something new. So I love being able to do that, working for the museum. But I do hope that visitors are able to spend that time. We get, like I said, we get a lot of campers, so we have people that come back multiple days in a row, and so they get to see new things, see different things. And then again, that's why we hope people keep coming back to see something new every time.
Well, Mr. Warp himself is his story is that's another example of the unique American story. Is here's a guy from Minden, Nebraska, that gosh does well in life and tries to preserve the country that he's helping to change.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, the just him working on a farm or working in the fields and stuff, and coming up with this idea, and then putting it together, and then going off and selling and making all this money off of this invention that helps everybody, and then, like you say, then coming back and wanting to preserve the things that helped get him to where he was. I mean, I think that's probably part of what it was. It was just, hey, I was able to do this. How did we get to this point?
Aside from the obvious, visiting the museum or sending money to the museum, what can we do to help?
I think the best thing now is, like, so we have a person that or a high school student who is doing a lot of, like you say, those videos that showcase different items and stuff. I think just sharing the museum and sharing on social media and following us like that, I think that helps a lot. It helps make us more visible, and just I think even from the beginning, I think there was a lot of word of mouth, like, just, hey, there's this really cool thing here in Minden, Nebraska, of all places. I mean, we get that almost every day. It's like, my mom came here in 1960 and loved this place, and we've been hearing the story for however many years, and now we wanted to actually visit this place. So I think it's a lot of that is just sharing the story, sharing the videos and stuff to see what we have, and just helping us build that word of mouth and that.
Denny Gibson asked about the Thomas Edison phonograph tinfoil in the story of how it got there. I know we're putting you on the spot since you're kind of new to the museum, Denny,
Right.
I wasn't aware of that either, but I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
I mean, we definitely still have I mean, we have a lot of those photographs, and we just moved Victrola into the 1930s room. But yeah, I'm sure we still do. I don't know that one specifically off the top of my head. I can imagine exactly where it would be. And we have a building number 13 is our homes and shops building, and I would imagine I know that's where a lot of our photographs and stuff were. So I'm sure we still have it.
Now we've sparked. You're going to go down there today and wander
I
around.
know. I'm taking notes. I'm writing things down.
And that's another example. Thank you, Denny. But an actual Thomas Edison phonograph with the tinfoil. There's another example. From tractors to something like this. It's just. I just highly recommend this. And I know that winter is probably not an ideal time for visiting Nebraska. You might consider it the off season.
Yeah. Fall is a great time, after October, but before the snow starts. I'm sitting in a nice warm house, but outside it is snowing and blowing. So definitely, it's an interesting thing to see. But and our buildings are very cold in the wintertime. So I would love to see everybody come by, but don't always recommend it. You'll definitely see the main building, at least, if you do stop by.
I want to encourage everybody, like say, here at Jim Hinckley's America, the things we're passionate about is sharing America's story and telling people where to go. And this is something here. This is America's story, and it is definitely a place to go. Minden, Nebraska. There's a reason they don't give Minden away on game shows, but it's still something that shouldn't be missed. Definitely. Sir, I want to thank you so much for taking time to do this today. And God bless. I'm glad that you're on board, and I really hope that we can help. We want to see this thing go and succeed. And I have to ask, I got another question here that came up. Do you have things in storage that have not been displayed yet?
We do. So we have, we actually have 12 Quonsets. Not all of them are full anymore, but just of all the extra stuff that he collected and just never got to display. So some of it has been sitting there for 72 years or more. And some of it we're trying to incorporate into our displays. Some of it we actually are selling off on auction since it was never pulled into our collection. We want to get some of that stuff out there. I mean, we've got a whole extra carousel that we won't ever be able to display for the amount of room it would take. But I mean, there's things like that and vehicles that we have that are probably very unique that we would love somebody to either own or take to another museum and showcase. So yes, there's a lot of stuff that's still off display. It is interesting. I was doing some research on the way museums display, and a normal museum is 5% of things that they own are on display at any one time, and then 95% are off display. We're probably either 50% or way over that, where most of our stuff is on display, but then we do still have a smaller collection off-site.
One of the things you had in the kitchen displays that really surprised me was a Crosley refrigerator. And for people who are as old as I am, might remember the Crosley automobiles. Well, Crosley also made appliances. But you had the only refrigerator I have ever seen that had a radio built into the refrigerator door.
Oh, yeah.
That was not something... I don't think the average household had something like that. This is probably 1930s.
Right.
I thought that was
And it probably was some one-off display that that Harold Warp just knew the right guy and and purchased it. But
I didn't think of that. It might have just been a display item. I never thought of that. That might be why I've never seen another one.
right. Yeah. I'll have to do some more research on that. That's, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of that unique stuff that he pulled in and one-off things.
Sir, I want to thank you again for doing this morning, taking time. I hope we've inspired a road trip or two, and we'll get this published later today, and on our it'll be on Spotify and different platforms. We've started offering an embedded player to website designers, and that's working out pretty well. We're also getting this after the first of the year. It'll be on Dynamic Living Radio internet network. And we're talking to some others about trying to get this out. October was our first month with 20,000 downloads. So we seem to be doing something right, even though I'm basically modern Amish. Anything after Model A Ford technology, I'm lost. So I generally just push buttons till something works or breaks. And so I'm really surprised to find that we have that kind of reach and engagement. But that's all made possible because of folks like Mr. Southworth and the audience we have. And I'm very, very appreciative.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet. And if there's anything I can do to help promotion wise or otherwise, let me know. I always tell folks, all you got to do is ask. The worst that'll happen is I'll laugh and say, well, that ain't happening.
Sure.
But I'll jump in where I can.
Right. Yeah.
Well, sir, thank you very, very much. Speaking of, I got some time capsules to talk about before we move this thing on. And Mr. Southworth mentioned the Route 66 trip. We're really pleased that we have some great. Not only they're more than just sponsors of what we do. They're truly our partners because they share our vision and our passion. But like Connie Eccles, the Wagon Wheel Motel in Cuba, Missouri, they'll be celebrating 100 or their 90 years next year operation. They're the oldest continuously operated motel on Route 66. And David Brenner out in Tucumcari with the Roadrunner Lodge Motel, his attention to detail is extraordinary. You've got the modern amenities, but he's done everything possible to create almost a time travel experience back to the 1960s. And it's pretty amazing. And if you find yourself in Albuquerque, in that area, Vicki Ashcraft, she's the president of the Route 66 Association in New Mexico. The Enchanted Trails Trading Post and RV Park is something you need to see. It's a full-service modern RV park. The Trading Post has quite a story. The Trading Post, which is now the gift shop, laundry, and whatnot for the RV park, really was built in the 1940s. And when they realigned the highway ended up being behind the Trading Post. So the owners jacked up the Trading Post and turned it around to face the highway. That's kind of a unique way of doing things. And we got some great road trip people that we work with a lot. Route Trip USA, they're a UK-based company, but their specialty is American and Canadian adventures road trips. And I'm pleased to write a column for their monthly newsletter. And I'll be writing a column about today's program, about Pioneer Village in Minden, Nebraska for an upcoming newsletter. I'll get that out. We also work with Gilligan's Route 66 Tours out of New Zealand and Route Trip USA out of Australia, or Route 66 Tours out of Australia. And just because they have Route 66 in the title, these companies, that's their primary, but they don't just focus on Route 66. They're American road trip folks. And of course, Dina Nelson, State Farm Insurance. Oh gosh, he's so supportive of so many projects like this. And that's also a real blessing. Next week, we're going to have some fun, a little bit of a deviation here. We're going to be talking with J.C. Amberlin. She is a very talented photographer, illustrator, and author. And she's got some great stories about some adventures to share, as well as adventures in writing and being self-employed in general. We'll get this published. The podcast we published today. I did a podcast. I did a blog post that I'll link with the publication today about Pioneer Village and some of the companies that are making comebacks, like Stuckey's is in the process of a revival, and S&H Green Stamps is coming back for a new generation in a digital age. And I'll share that as well. Does anybody have any questions? Anything we can answer for you before we bid you adios this morning? If not, I will again thank Mr. Southworth very much for your time today, and stay warm. And
Yes.
when you go out to turn off the lights in one of the buildings, I imagine a 5-minute visit often turns into a little bit longer.
Yes, it does. It usually does.
I would have to have somebody probably come and search and rescue me. Professor Stoltz, glad you enjoyed this very much. I don't know if Nolan, if you ever been to Minden, Nebraska or not. Professor Nolan Stoltz is passionate about road trips. He's focused heavily on Route 66 the last few years, but he's developed some pretty interesting projects as well. In fact, we've got some great folks with us today. Margaret is with us from Motor Cities and the Ransom E. Olds Museum in Lansing. And so we got some good folks here. And of course, Denny Gibson is, he's good for a road trip story or two. My friends, we will do this again next week about the same time, barring something really horrible. We will be back and, do what we do best. We'll tell people where to go. My friends, until we meet again, I will bid everyone else adios. Dustin, thank you. And
Yes.
we'll get some road trip inspiring music from our good friends in Nashville, Joe and Woody and the boys of the road crew, to get you thinking about them road trips. Until we meet again, my friends. Vaya con Dios.
Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a 2-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.